Hello everyone, nubkeks here, welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, I'm going to give you rapidly my 50 top tips for new players here in 2025. Shout out to a channel I just discovered recently, Game Leap Cobb, for inspiring this video with his one. And without any further ado, let's dive in with my top tips. So here we go. Tip number one, I've just started a free-to-play account, free-to-play challenge 2025. You can follow the playlist to see my progress through everything in the game and see sort of step-by-step along the way in greater detail than I can cover. Tip number two, follow the other creators. If you hate me, don't worry. There's a bunch of other creators also doing the free-to-play 2025 challenge, and you can see their progress and what they have done. They might have different starter champions, etc. Tip number three, make sure to start your account with a promo code, a new player code, and a link code. If you've already started an account, I'd say if you've only been playing for a couple of days, restart. If you've been playing for over a week, maybe keep going. But yeah, in my haste, I clicked the wrong thing. Whoops. Tip number four, for your link code, this is how you create the game. I recommend starting with the free-to-play 2025 link code to get Ugo and Tagore. I think it's the best way to start your account. Two absolute top-tier epics. For tip number five, for your new player promo code, I did an entire video on this with Hell Hades himself, so you can check that out for more details. I would recommend either starting with Monkey King for Sun Wukong, or starting with mid-game top for Sigmund the High Shield. I started with Sigmund for the free-to-play challenge. If you want to copy my teams, start with that. I'd say Wukong is going to be the most useful and longest-term valuable legendary in there. They're both great, but yeah. Number six, there are also promo codes, normal promo codes, time-limited ones. Here they go. They're listed in the active section of this part of the website. Stick one of those in. There's a 24-hour cooldown period for every promo code, so you can rip through them all, usually within about a week. They're not updated. Plarium doesn't give out that many, sadly, but every now and then you will get some stuff, so make sure to check back on the website for that. Should mention, I am a writer for hellhades.com, so there's a vested interest, but it is the best website on Raid. So there you are. Tip number seven. I can't remember if I listed all the tip numbers, but we're on number seven. If you do want to buy stuff with money, obviously this is a free-to-play challenge. I don't buy it on this account. But if you were to buy, the best things to buy, Daily Gem Pack, very, very good. There is the monthly pack is pretty good. For your passes, I would say the Forge Pass is pretty good. And I guess the Champion Pass is gone, but the Champion Pass, whenever that's on, tends to be pretty good as well, and that's already an absolute ton of money. Yeah, the Gem Pack is like a tenner a month, or maybe €12 a month. So that's a fairly decent spot if you want low investment, just figuring out if you even enjoy the game. I skipped number 8. I'm missing a point. Oh no. Okay, I fixed it. So tip number 8, doing it live. Get your starter champion up to level 60. That's your first major goal in the game. How are you going to do it? Well, the new player pass, the welcome pass, whatever it's called, will help. Just guide you through some missions. Tip number 9, farm stage 12 of campaign. When you should unlock normal pretty early on, farm that. If you can do hard, you want to farm stage 3. It's going to give you the most silver and still good energy and good account experience, which is also very important. Ultimately, you want to farm tip number 10. Brutal 12-3 is the best place to farm, and this is super efficient, even up to like 4 years into the game. This is still amazing. You can farm Nightmare Campaign. I farm it on my main, but it is very difficult. Most players are going to be farming stage 12-3 and Brutal, which means this is like an amazing place to spend your energy, whereas you're not going to catch up to other players for months in other areas. Within a couple of weeks, you can be spending your energy as efficiently as everybody else, which is insane. You should be able to do this when your starter is level 60. Bonus tip, you get 51 tips. Lucky you. I never let your energy cap. Always be spending it. And again, so long as you can get to stage 12 of campaign, great, good, go. Spend your energy there. Keep it always rolling. You'll be making progress. And switching in champions, leveling them up and feeding them up. We cover that in other videos, too detailed for this. Number 11, use your gems to buy masteries for your starter champion. That's going to be your first use of gems. It costs 800 to buy all your masteries. This is what I put on Kale. I recommend it. Number 12, it's 800 gems to buy masteries. It costs about 620 to go and grind the masteries. The other way to get them is just by farming Minotaur. This is not worth farming unless you can farm stage 15. Number 13, I recommend buying masteries for a second champion as well, so that you'll have two champions with full masteries, your starter, and then, in my case, Ugo from my promo code. You could use Tagore either from the promo code, put them in with the third champion who needs masteries, and that way, all of the scrolls from Minotaur will be directed onto your third champion, and you can level them up while you're doing it. Basically, you want to have two master champions bought with gems, get them both probably to 60, and then you'll be able to start farming masteries for everyone else in Minotaur and earning some extra silver and experience along the way versus buying them straight out. If you're lazy, you can just buy them, but it is better to grind. Number 14, buy the gem mine. We're not buying this in the free-to-play challenge. It takes about 3 months to pay itself back, but from then on, this is just going to be surplus gems. It's just a benefit. Number 15, the sparring pit over here. Unlock the base slots. Again, this takes a few months to pay back, but it will pay itself back. That's definitely worth doing over the long term. It will level up lots of champions for you, but it does, you're going to have to play the game for a few months for that to really pay off. Tip number 16, I already mentioned him. Kale is the best starter champion. Reason being, he brings poisons, which are very, very effective at the early game bosses. Dragon, Ice Golem, Demon Lord, even Chimera. Very useful for those. You can pick other starters. They're fine. He is the best one. Number 17. After your starter, the next most important thing is a champion with the decreased defense buff, preferably hitting all enemies in AoE. Ugo from the starter code. You can also farm War Maiden, who is a rare from the campaign. She doesn't have any clothes, but she's still a very good champion with her AoE decreased defense. You can farm up multiple copies to get her booked up. Number 18, the key debuffs that are going to be essential early game. You can check out the filters for these. The most important ones are decreased defense, the big version, AoE, again, Ugo or War Maiden. Decreased speed, the big version. Well, I don't have any champs with all of them, but you can see that's why I leveled up for me on my account, Prosecutor. After that, decrease attack is also extremely important. Those are the three keys: decrease attack, decrease defense, decrease speed. They are your key debuffs early that are going to be useful almost everywhere. You want a champion that can apply them, preferably at 100% chance on a 3-turn cooldown, and preferably apply them AoE as well. It's difficult to find, but these are very impactful. Your key buffs early game, there's actually not that many, but the key buffs, I'd say the only absolutely essential one to look out for is increased speed. If you start with our promo code, you will get Tagore. Tagore is absolutely god tier. He's got increased speed on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. You want to look for that. Alternatives, if you don't start with him, Apothecary is fantastic. He is a rare champion. Increased speed for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. You want the big version, the 30%. Your sort of pity champion is 1 month login. You'll get Haikatun. She's got the same sort of thing. You definitely want that. I'd say that's the only essential buff to look for early game. After that, some key buffs. We'll talk about it for some of the particular bosses. But increased defense, block debuffs, ally protection, either the big or small version are both good. And where's shield? Shield buffs are really good as well. Stuff basically that's going to help you stay alive. Strengthen, again, the small version is fine, but the big version is preferable. Buffs that will help your team stay alive and reduce the damage you're taking are also very good. For your key effects, there are some effects to watch out for. It's fairly straightforward, really, but any champions that can heal your team, well, again, Tagore, Apothecary, very good for that. Removing debuffs, very nice as well. I'm not going to cover all the champions that can do it, but we'll just point out some good things to look out for. Reviving is also key, and filling turn meter. The rest of the stuff's a bit more advanced and tough to find. For your negative effects, stuff to watch out for would be... that's not actually that important. Actually, there's not too many here that are too important. I'd say don't worry too much about those, actually, for now. Another key debuff to watch out for early game, very helpful for doing damage early game. Poisons and burns are amazing early game as well. So we'll point those out too. Tip number 21. Sorry if I've not labeled all the tips properly. I feel like I'm skipping the label numbers. Demon Lord. Key team for the Demon Lord clan boss. And actually, bonus tip, easy, normal, and hard, really not relevant. You might as well do them, but the rewards aren't really that important, but do them. Get into them. Brutal, not great. Nightmare, extremely good. And Ultra, whoa, what is happening here? Oh my gosh. Ultra Nightmare is where it's at. Ultra Nightmare is the big goal, but that's pretty darn tough. It will probably take you 3 to 6 months, maybe even more, to get into Ultra Nightmare. It's sort of the big progressing from early into mid and even into late game goal. That's the big goal. But getting up to Nightmare is doable. I can do Nightmare, as you can see, 40 million with 2 keys, 1 month in, free to play. If you follow, like I said, the tip number 1, my playlist and stuff, you can see what I did. You can copy me and you can get there too. We will clearly be unlocking Ultra Nightmare. This is, I think, I'm not a fan of this anyway. Well, not a fan. Someone is cheating. Nice. Great. Good job. Good job, team. Free-to-play challenge team. Good job on cheating. Oh my god. But your key team for the Demon Lord, what are the key things you're looking out for? Well, you can see my team over here. Starter champion for damage. Kale is brilliant with the poisons. Anyone else for damage? We'll come back to any login legendaries, particularly ones with damage, but the Brimstone Blessing, that's going to be a later tip. We'll come back to that. It's very effective. A decreased defense champion. I was using Ugo. Now I'm using this dwarf, Rugnor. But decreased defense, really important. Decrease attack. I'm getting that from Sigmund. And then any defensive buffs that will help you to stay alive, or defensive effects. We've got healing and reviving from Tagore. We've got shielding and strengthen from Sigmund. And we've got increased speed from Tagore as well. Increased speed is also very important. So those would be the main things to look for. Poisons, burns, brimstone, very effective for damage. For Chimera, tip number 23. Your Chimera team, basically the same. It's basically the exact same. You're looking for a damage dealer. I'm using my starter and our login champion, Alice. Brimstone debuffs, very good. Poison is okay. HP burn is decent for some easy to do damage. Decreased defense debuff, again, is the most important debuff. Decreased speed works against Chimera, but not against Demon Lord. A single target decreased speed is nice, but not essential. Increased speed buff, though, highly recommended again. And an extra effect that's very good is removing debuffs is nice because you get a lot of very nasty debuffs even early on in Chimera. For Hydra, teams for Hydra. Hydra is very difficult. By far the most difficult clan boss. Don't worry about it too much if you are struggling. The most important things here, you've got 6 slots. Again, 2 damage dealers is probably ideal. You can get away with only 1, though, early on. I can actually show you my team. My team, I think, for reference, my team does about 4 million damage. Might be able to push up to the Adept chest this week with improving the gear. It's a very similar team concept, guys. Couple of damage dealers is good. AoE HP burn gives you a ton of, or any HP burn will give you a ton of damage. Brimstone is also okay. AoE decrease defense is great. AoE decrease attack is great. Now, AoE decrease speed is extremely impactful. Increased speed for your team is extremely impactful. Now, a couple of extra buffs and debuffs we really want for Hydra specifically, a reliable provoke to stop the Head of Decay removing your debuffs, and an AoE block buffs. This makes it very tricky. Again, if you follow, I chose Sigmund, and then with our starter promo code, my starter champion, the free login champion Alice, and she is just doing damage. You can replace her with any damage dealer if you're choosing. And then I put in the rare prosecutor for AoE decreased speed, and I've got myself a solid enough team. That's an example of a super early game team. It's not a very good team, but it's a core early game team covering sort of the key buffs and debuffs. Teams for dungeons. Tip number 24. Dragon's Lair and Ice Golem's Peak basically use the exact same teams that you're using for Demon Lord and Chimera. The same buffs, the same exact things apply. Tip number 25. Team for Fire Knight. Fire Knight's quite a bit harder. I've got up to stage 20. Fire Knight, important things you need to look for. Decreased turn meter. Here I've got Armiger. He's a great uncommon for this, so long as he crits and he has enough accuracy. We'll talk about that in a bit. He will decrease turn meter by 30%. Decreased turn meter, decreased speed. We've got decreased turn meter here on Prosecutor and decreased speed. Very important. You can get away with single target decreased speed. That's fine. Champions with multiple hits in their kit to knock down the Fire Knight shield is crucial. And heal reduction is not essential, but it is a nice bonus. So the core to beating Fire Knight, the boss, is multiple hits to knock his shield down, then get decreased speed on him and turn meter reduction and stop him ever taking a turn, or at least slow it down significantly so he can land damage. If he does take any turns, heal reduction, not essential, but can be very helpful to stop him healing up. Tip number 26, Spider. In my opinion, the hardest starting dungeon. I'm only up to stage 17. Spider, again, the key things you're looking for are very similar to Fire Knight. Decrease speed. AoE is nice, but single target is probably enough. Decrease turn meter. And then landing AoE HP burn is the easiest way to progress through Spider. It's very difficult. Bonus tip, one of the easier ways, it takes more than 3 months. So we've not bothered doing it. I guess it takes 100 days. You can buy 1 fragment per day. Drexstar, you can't just buy this over and over again. There is 24-hour cooling down period. Don't get caught. Bonus tip. But Drexstar, Blood Twin, can help you to beat Spider 20, but it takes 100 days to get him. We're only playing for 90 days on the free-to-play challenge, so I'm not going for him, but you probably should. Bonus tip right there. Tip number 27, the best stat in the entire game is speed. Speed is the best stat. Tip number 28, getting good sets on your champion is nice, but getting good stats is more important. So, for example, in theory, the best set for Alice early game would be Savage, but my Savage gear sucks. I'm not going to force her into Savage. We're going to put her into decent sets, fine sets that are giving her good stats. Tip number 29, most of your useful gear, once I think you're about 1 month in, maybe a bit more, but once you're similar progress to where I am right now, again, watch the playlist, Faction Wars will become your main source of gear. Tip number 30 then, tying into that, after building your core team. So I recommend, following your missions and so on, building up those core buffs and debuffs on your core champions. Again, in my case, the free login, you might have a different one, but our 3 promo code champions are starter, perhaps a turn meter pushback champion like Armiger in there. He's great. Or a decreased speed champ like Prosecutor. Great. You've got yourself a core team. Well worth getting them up to 60. Getting them War Master. That thing is a later tip. I'm babbling. I'm going off. But build a core team. After that, about 1 month in for me, that's when you start looking to push up faction crypts. You can probably push faction crypts reasonably well with even 1 or 2 good champions. It should really be no problem. You don't need that many to get the key rewards. You are looking for stage 8. Shout out to Colred for this tip. Stage 8 to get your epic materials. You can get it on stage 7, but the boss stage is quite difficult. Stage 8 is quite a bit easier. Stage 8 for epic materials, and then stage 13 for legendary materials. These are the most important stages to aim for, and that should become your goal once you've got your core teams and you're up to at least level 16, I would say, in the dungeons. That's when you can really focus on faction crypts, and that's where you're going to massively improve your gear. Tip number 31, when crafting, resilience, and perception, always use your charms. Save these. Do not use charms on 3 to 4 star. You can on 4 to 5 early game, especially once you get about a month or 2 in and you can start getting some legendaries. Always save rank rarity. If you get mythical, save mythicals. For perception. Perception is your best early game gear set. And then put in speed charms. I've used all mine. Or accuracy charms. Crit rate charms, you can save those for a damage set. It probably wouldn't be too bad on perception. A little bit early game. But yeah, perception is great. Resilience is not as good. It's more of a filler set. Make sure to save your charms for perception. It is absolutely god tier early game. Tip number 32, you can craft stuff during CVC. It will give you bonus points from the Forge objectives. Give you a bunch of points for CVC. You'll get some free rewards and help out your clan. Tip number 33, for your stats. 170 speed should be your minimum on everybody. 170 speed. I would be going for 200 plus speed for support. So let's say Ugo, for instance, is support. Going for 200 plus speed. For your crowd control champions or your speed boosters, probably like 250 or more. I'm close there with Sigmund, but the more speed, the better on your crowd control or speed booster champions. So like Apothecary. I think my Tagore is like really slow right now. He really needs to have his speed upped. He's very slow. So that's something for me to work on. For crit rate is good for damage dealers, but it's not too crucial early game. On your starter champion, you typically want 85% crit rate. Most of the starters have a bonus 15% chance to crit. So they can get away with 85. Other damage dealers, in this case for me, Alice will want 100%. 106 is actually a little bit too much, but it's fine. 100%. And you want 200 accuracy is your goal for the early to mid game. More than that is okay, but really unnecessary. I've gone too high on most of them. It's actually quite easy to build accuracy now. But 200 accuracy is your goal for like the stage 20 dungeons, for Demon Lord Clan Boss, for any of the Chimera and etc. stuff you're going to be doing early on. Tip number 36 then, 3-star gear is worthless. 4-star gear is pretty bad. You're going to use that as filler for the first month and a half maybe, but you want to move on to 5 to 6-star gear very quickly. Very quickly. So you'll get some stuff from dungeons, some stuff from quests and whatnot. And then again, you're going to want to be doing your faction wars every day, making sure to save your charms, and you're going to get a lot from the forge. That's where you're getting your stuff. Don't waste time on 3-star gear. Don't really waste time on 4-star gear either, in my opinion. Tip number 37, the best gear stuff early game, crit rate gloves, worth their weight in gold. The best substats on basically everything is speed. Accuracy chests are really nice, especially if you're struggling to get enough accuracy. Let me see. For example, Rugnor, I think is... No, he's got attack. Never mind. I take it back. I think she's struggling a bit for accuracy. No, never mind. I take it back. She's in a 4-star. We've got a lot of sets giving us accuracy. But if you're struggling for accuracy, maybe he has one. Hey, there we go. Finally, an accuracy chest. I have his accuracy actually built quite high because for the event dungeon. Anyway, accuracy chests are pretty good if you're struggling for accuracy. And then definitely the best, speed boots. Boots with main stat speed are worth their weight in gold. Basically everyone, 95% of champions for 95% of the game will all be wearing speed boots. And the higher the ranking, the better. So speed boots, crit rate gloves, accuracy chest, also really good chest, HP percent with any speed, even defense percent with speed. Very, very strong. Tip number 38. A ton of your early game damage against bosses will come from the War Master Mastery. Going back to our masteries. Get War Master on everyone. There we go. Tip number 39, the Brimstone Blessing. They often do free legendaries every couple of months or so, and they'll give you a free blessing. The Brimstone Blessing, only for legendaries, extremely strong. You do need accuracy to land it. Brimstone is absolutely busted. Gives you a ton of free boss damage. Tip number 40, a new system in the game this year, Relics. Always match the same rarity. So for example, over here, now we might run out of event relics. I'm not sure if I'm going to get more, but don't mix them like this. Wait until you have 100 of the same matching relics, rarities to put them together. Preferably combine all relics from the same source as well together and craft your relics. Number 41. Number 41. Put relics on everyone. Even bad relics are good. Now, this is not a bad relic. It's one of the best relics in the game. That's super lucky. But this is a terrible relic. It's still good. Early game. Get relics on everyone. The Journal of Necrotis is particularly good. I've got a whole video on the tier list on the relics. But relics. You will get a ton. If you're paying attention, make sure to equip them. You get one for free, the Unholy Grail at the start. Just slap that on your starter champion straight away. Gets them a bunch of extra attack. Makes life easier. So make sure to get that. Number 42, this is a big tip, Arena. Arena. So, look at this. Can I fight any of these teams in Gold Arena? No, they are ridiculous. But, look, I click refresh. I can beat this team. I can beat this. I can beat this. Great. Once you get a little bit further into the game, you want to get to Gold 5 Arena. How do you do it? You cannot fight any real team, but people will have, every now and then, a one-man defense. Sometimes when you refresh, you can do it every 15 minutes. There will be no teams you can attack. But then every now and then you'll get a one-man defense. You can only lose, I believe it will only count 10 losses in a day. So long as you are going net positive in your active battles with 10 wins, you will climb up. It does reset and put you back to the start of a tier on Monday morning, EU time. So that will set you back a bit. But once you get to gold in Arena, progress normally until you get to, top of silver, you start getting into gold. Once you've hit gold, pretty quickly, you're going to want to just refresh every 15 minutes. It's that simple, sadly. Log in every 15 minutes, refresh, look for a one-man fight and push up. Once you get into Gold 5, there are actually a lot more one-man defenses. Here we can see, again, I cannot even begin to touch these other defenses, but there's 3 that I can beat and get my medals. These will hard block you in the Arbiter missions. The quicker you get to Gold 5, once you get to Gold, don't waste any time in Gold 1, 2, 3, or 4. You are just going to put in your best defense possible, and you are going to try push up Just get more wins than the 10 losses every day. Push up as much best you can. It's a miserable grind. It absolutely sucks. It's terrible, but it will help you progress in the missions. Right now, for instance, I need to get an affinity bonus to 7. You can see I don't even win every single fight, but I'm about to get an affinity bonus to 7 and move on with my missions right now. Number 43, tip number 43, accuracy or crit damage are the best things to upgrade. And you want to focus on just one for the you need to get one up to level 10 for the Arbiter missions. I would probably recommend accuracy still. If you are like we are right now when the event dungeon is open and it's giving pinpoint gear, pinpoint gear is very strong early game for early accuracy. You could maybe go crit damage instead. I think the safest bet is going for accuracy, and you're probably going to go for magic affinity. Yeah, in our case, our login, again, the promo code champions we're giving you are both magic and your starter champion is magic. You probably go for magic, and then you can branch out afterwards. Tip number 44. Dungeons, these main dungeons, not worth farming. Don't bother. Tip number 45. Well, if you decide actually you do want to farm the dungeons anyway, in normal mode, the best stages, the pro tip for looking for the best stages is it's usually where the energy cost increases. That's really good. So stage 11 is great. You see, the energy goes up in stage 12. It makes it a little less efficient for the amount of gear you're getting per energy. The best stages, stage 11, it's okay. Stage 16 is really, really solid. And then stage 20 is the most efficient. That's when you start getting 5 and 6 star gear only. Stage 20 is brilliant. That's the best point to farm. It's obviously difficult to get there. So stage 11, 16, and 20. One exception bonus tip for Spider, stage 10 is bugged. So stage 10 is actually really good to farm, which is good because Spider is extremely difficult. That was tip number 47. That was tip number 46. Haha. Tip number 47, fusions. You might be wondering, fusions. We've got a fragment fusion on right now for Esme the Dancer at time I'm recording. Fusions, they usually run about one every month or so. A little bit. Usually there's about 13 in a year. So it's like slightly more often than one, but roughly speaking, one per month. I would say about 50%, so about 6 of the 12 are typically decent champions that are okay, worth having. Probably about 3 of the 12 tend to be pretty insane and definitely worth getting. And then 3 or so tend to be pretty bad and not that great. That's my vibes anyway. But fusions are extremely intensive, and you probably want to wait for most players until you're over 3 months into the game before even considering. You will probably be shell-shocked by how hard you have to grind to get a fusion. Tip number 48, to do the fusion, I'd recommend probably at least 1,000 gems for energy refills, probably about 50 million silver for the course of the fusion. You want to be farming at least stage 16 and preferably stage 20 of the dungeons. For your shards, you would want probably around 7 sacred shards saved up, probably around 50 or 60 ancients, 20 or so void shards is usually the amounts for the summon events. You usually wouldn't need every shard type, but if there's a 2x ancient event, you might be looking for that much. You can sometimes get away with less, but it's very intensive. You can definitely save up any fragments you've got to summon. You can save up any of these permanent fusions as well to do so. Always save these rares from the voids, by the way. Bonus tip to fuse up broad mods for easy points for champion chase events. But yeah, roughly that's what you're looking for. Tip number 49 tying into that. That sounds like a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. Resource management is the name of the game for fusions. You have to have a ton of patience. It's all about saving up your shards, stockpiling resources to do the fusion. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. And then finally, tip number 50. Between fusions, they run Titan events now. They are extremely hard and probably not worth doing until you're about a year into the game. I think after that point, it can be worth perhaps skipping some fusions to get. They usually give you 5-star souls. Getting a 5-star soul for a good fusion can be worthwhile, but I wouldn't worry about that till really, realistically, you're 1, maybe even 2 years into the game. It's much more of an end game thing. So I would not worry about Titan events and worry much more about just getting legendaries from the fusions. And guys, there you go. 50 tips plus, I don't know, about 5 bonus tips. Hopefully it was helpful. Let me know any other tips you have in the comments down below. I hope I helped you. This video went longer than I intended. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.